How's it going, everybody? I hope everybody is keeping well, keeping safe, keeping their distance here in this stressful time that we're all going through. But you know what does not stop? The cinema closes, the football stops, production stops and everything. Shops stop, apparently. Life seems to have stopped for a little bit. Exams have stopped. What doesn't stop is the wrestling. And we love it because the wrestling is always there for us in our times of need, when we are bored, when we are sad, when we are happy, when we are amped, when we are anxious, and when we are somewhat frustrated and scared, actually. Everybody kind of locked up in their house. Everybody just really not knowing what to do. And I posted a video a couple of days ago about the whole coronavirus thing and the COVID-19 situation and my thoughts on it and what I think it means for us and what, you know, how I'm dealing with it or in my routine in my life and that sort of thing. So check them out. That's what I uploaded on Tuesday instead of the wrestling video. So I was going to just leave the wrestling this week and just talk about something a bit more important, which was the coronavirus, and have everybody have a wee sort of discussion about it. But for some reason, even in the, you know, in this time where, you know, every single time you look at Twitter you get more breaking and somewhat surreal news. There's even, you know, somewhat more surreal wrestling news every fucking hour. There's so much going on just now, man. Not only just with the company saying, yep, the shows are still on, we're still going to do this stuff even though there's no audience, and, you know, announcing things and that sort of thing. But, like, making history and doing some unprecedented things just by looking at Twitter and just because of our current situation. So, for example, we're not allowed to have more, you know, a big lot of people in the one area, so we're going to do empty arena shows. And Raw and SmackDown done it very interestingly, actually. I'm looking forward to SmackDown again to see how it is, you know, a sort of third time around. The first time was a lot of fun, and it was kind of the novelty was there. I really enjoyed Raw, however we had one match, which listen, it's obviously hard to have matches in an empty arena, but I don't think they should make such a big deal of the fact there's no audience. I'll tell you why I'm saying that in a minute. I think, you know, the stuff like Stone Cold coming out really helped, and the Undertaker stuff really helped, and Edge's promo really helped, that sort of thing. But even the match, it was Andrade versus Rey Mysterio, two folk who could have a good match with anybody, never mind against each other. And the fact that, you know, after a while, you kind of go, all right, okay, well, it's going to be a bit different, there's no audience. But it's not that distracting, I don't think. Because, I mean, it's a bit of a novelty just now, but is it going to be the same in 6 weeks' time? I don't know. But anyway, whatever. But then you had AEW last night, on Wednesday night, and for some reason, I almost, like, forgot that it was an empty arena. Like, they just done such a good show, and not only was it a good show for the fact there was no audience, it was just a good show. It might actually be my favourite episode of Dynamite thus far, since October. I don't know why, I don't know why, it felt special because it was a special show. But of course, you know, next week's going to come around, and there's also not going to be an audience there too. And they were very careful. They kept saying, on the next Dynamite this is going to happen, not next week. Because we never know. We could literally I could open Twitter after I filmed this video. You could go on Twitter right now when you're watching this, and it could basically just say, nobody is allowed to, not even one person, even if you're healthy, allowed to come in contact with another person. That could happen. So there might not be another Dynamite next week, but they're hopefully, fingers crossed anyway, because it's Blood and Guts next week, which I was so excited for, of course, but I'm just more sort of curious now, because how are you going to do such a big, monumental match, violent match, spectacle sort of thing with no crowd? But then they proved me wrong last night, because there was this big debut, the Exalted One was being revealed, and it was Brodie Lee, Luke Harper, and of course Matt Hardy came out, but I feel like we should keep that for another day. Let's talk about it now. Why not? Let's take a detour and let's talk about this instead. I was going to talk about something, the other big thing, but I'll do that tomorrow. Let's talk about this now then. Let's talk about Matt Hardy and Brodie Lee joining AEW. We all knew it was coming for Matt Hardy. We were all saying Matt Hardy's going to be the Exalted One. It almost became too predictable. And then the whole Young Bucks stuff, so it wouldn't really make sense because the Young Bucks were showing up on Matt Hardy's YouTube show. It didn't really make a lot of sense for them to be, you know, to Matt Hardy join this big heel faction that they're trying to build. And I've struggled to build, I must say, since October, but it's getting a lot better now. Doing the Exalted One thing being Matt Hardy. So now Matt Hardy's actually joined the Elite crew, and I was thinking, okay, they're going to do this big sort of review of Matt Hardy, or the Exalted One, whoever it was going to be, ended up being Luke Harper. But with no audience, it's going to kind of dampen the debut or dampen the big reveal. Turns out it didn't at all, because they had this really cool sort of video of Luke Harper revealing himself as Brodie Lee, and then he was just all of a sudden in the ring and he attacked Daniels and he attacked Kaz and people like that, which was really interesting. And I mean, I think that Luke Harper's a great fit. Luke Harper's great. He never had that kind of like, he never got what he was due, I don't think, which is a weird thing to say, because I mean, who's due anything really? But he was always this underrated and underutilised talent. Everybody knew was ridiculously talented, that everyone knew was so good. So it's going to be nice to see him have the sort of creative freedom to be in a sort of main role. Because obviously up until this point, the Dark Order, Evil Uno is going to be the main guy. And he's good, you know, like his promos are good. He's got these really dead eyes. It's weird, man. It's almost like they don't move. He's just like saying like that when he talks. It's really strange. And he's good, he's a good character and that sort of thing, but he just, I guess he's lacking that maybe experience, or maybe he's a big name sort of thing. What does Evil Uno mean, you know? I know what it means, because he used to be in a team called the Super Smash Brothers, and there was player 1 and there was player Uno and player Dos, and he was player Uno, I believe, anyway. And then he's Evil Uno, so I don't know. The whole thing with Luke Harper being it's going to be really hard changing names, because you know someone is for so long as Luke Harper, and it's going to be so strange calling him Brodie Lee. The whole thing with that is now he's going to be like the main guy, and of course he was in the Wyatt family and all that stuff, and the Bludgeon Brothers, but that was never like his group. Hopefully, anyway, the Dark Order is his group. Luke Harper can have a great match with anybody, much like those guys I was talking about earlier on. And you put him against some of the younger guys, the smaller guys, put him against folk like Omega and Cody Rhodes, and even some of the people who aren't really utilised, like QT Marshall and Joey Janela and Darby Allin's getting there, I suppose. But they're going to be great matches, and because he can move as well, you know what I mean? Luke Harper's really, really agile, and in those sort of like, what's the word, when you're ferocity, fire, that sort of thing, you know what I mean? There is a word for it, I can't remember. Explosiveness? His explosiveness is really good, which is strange. Those sort of like lariats and big boots and that sort of thing, he's really, really good. So that's going to be a big thing, and I'm looking forward to seeing where they go with that, and it will help the Dark Order. Speaking of helping things, Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy is extremely motivated right now, which is a good thing, because obviously a motivated wrestler is a dangerous wrestler. In a good way, not dangerous in terms of like dropping folk, dangerous being like, I'm going to really change the business and change my status in the business. And he was like that before, when he was in TNA and he did the Broken Universe and that sort of thing, and there was the thing that kind of, TNA were going through this horrendous time at that time point. But for some reason, everybody I feel like that happens a lot of times when there's something big, there's always another thing to distract you. Like, it was like the end of that company, and then like the Broken Universe stuff was going on, so we kind of ignored it. And it was getting like the most attention it's had in years. Not only because of this negativity, but also because of Matt Hardy. And what a genius he is, and what an absolute gem of a mind that he is for the wrestling world. So to have him on this main stage, being completely creatively free, apparently, you know, we don't know, obviously there's some stuff that needs to be run by the boss. But in terms of, you've seen a lot of the creative freedom a lot of people have had in terms of those promos and that sort of thing. It's going to be hilarious. And I wonder if they're going to do a lot of the sort of pre-tape stuff like they did before at the Hardy compound, most likely. But I mean, the whole thing about the broken stuff, the only reason it never worked in WWE, and he was very smart here, he changed it to Woken, because, you know, the whole thing was Jeff Hardy broke him. And Matt Hardy was this character, he was big money Matt, and he was rich, and he was the main eventer, and he was the champion. And then Jeff, his brother Nero, broke him. And he became this character. And I remember sitting there watching the first time he came out with the afro and the blonde thing through his hair and the long jacket, and he was speaking funny. Like that, I remember watching the episode and going, what is he doing? And then it obviously led and it kind of evolved into the Broken Universe. But now, you know, when he was in WWE, it was really good. The stuff with like Bray Wyatt and that sort of thing. They became a team, tag champions. They had the thing at the Hardy compound and that sort of thing, which was crazy. But the thing that the beauty and the charm of the Broken Universe is that it was like a long-term thing. Like it just grew and grew and grew and got more and more popular. And the reason everybody loves that WrestleMania reaction and that WrestleMania 33 return is obviously because it's the Hardy Boys returning to WWE. It's this big deal, this massive ovation and that sort of thing in this huge stadium. But people like me who were following the story, the amazing part about it was, if anybody knew the story, it was the Expedition of Gold, right? So it was Matt and Jeff going all around the world collecting tag team titles, right? So it started in TNA, and they went to Mexico, and they went to Japan, and they went to ROH and stuff like that. And even things like that were kind of monumental. That he was contracted to TNA, but he was on. He just created this Expedition of Gold thing. Wanted to do the story, and folks just let him do it. Like came into ROH and won the titles and that sort of thing, just for like a weekend or just for like a month. And then all of a sudden, in real life, he's out of his TNA contract. He signed with WWE, but there's still this Expedition of Gold hadn't ended. And not only did it end at WrestleMania because they won the tag titles, but they kept, like, they were the champions after that. It was like this end of the story that started in TNA, went through all these indies, went through ROH, and ended at WrestleMania. That's unheard of. No one will ever be able to pull that off again. And now the fact he's in a big sort of high-profile company like AEW, and they have all these eyes on them, and they're on this big network, and there's this unlimited budget. Who knows what they could do? And obviously, he had a lot of creative freedom in WWE when he was doing the Woken stuff. But, you know, there's always that limit, you know. I actually amazed some of the Woken stuff actually made it to WWE TV because it's so anti-Vince, it's so not what Vince goes for. But then again, you know, Vince, he's got a lot of people talking to him, a lot of people say, okay, this is going to work, you know. Now it's like everybody knows in the company that the Broken stuff is brilliant. The Broken Brilliance, yes. So, you know, it's so exciting, and it's like, just like that in that show, not only was it almost like a career building show for the whole of AEW, because working in that such weird and strange circumstances with no crowd there, no noise, they put the heels on one side and the faces on the other side, and they had like sort of dueling. Why don't WWE do that? Get the underutilized guys, put them in the crowd, have them react in some way so it's not just silence. Not only that, the commentators were hilarious. I mean, usually they are funny, but so entertaining. Just making wee jokes about it and stuff like that. Excalibur, JR and Taz, and they kept digging Tony Schiavone for always getting on camera and all that sort of stuff. Brilliant. Then it cut to Lance Archer, standing next to Jake the Snake Roberts. Jake Roberts cut this promo, and I know it's old news, Jake Roberts being a good promo guy, but my God, is he just amazing. It's so funny, because it's even not my style of promo. I like this big high intensity promo. And I was never, you know, obviously Jake Roberts was far behind my time. Before my time. Obviously I can appreciate his work, and I know he's one of the greatest promo guys of all time. But now when you listen to him and stuff, you literally like get closer and closer to the screen because you want to hear what he's saying. And if that's a weekly thing with Lance Archer, who is amazing, that's a big deal as well. And then you're kind of building up these things with Jericho and Moxley, and they're really assembling this big roster. And Matt Hardy's going to add so much to that. Brodie Lee's going to add so much to that. It's a very exciting time for AEW. And I look forward to next week for Blood and Guts. Hopefully, fingers crossed that we're still getting it. Obviously, it's out of our control now. It's all about the government, and it's all about, you know, the US Embassy and whoever is in charge for making these things, you know, allowed. And the state, you know, like WrestleMania being moved to the Performance Centre, which I'll talk about in a couple of days or tomorrow or whenever I get around to it. I do want to talk about WrestleMania being moved to the Performance Centre. That'll be my next wrestling related video. But until next time, folks, remember to stay safe, remember to wash your hands, remember to drink lots of water, stay indoors, chill out. We are being told and recommended to sit and watch the telly, which I still can't really get my head around. I'm struggling to have it sink in. That not only are folks saying, "Oh, it's fine, just stay at home, don't worry about it." We are being told to stay at home, chill, relax, stay safe, watch some movies, watch some TV, watch some wrestling, because that's what I'll be doing. Thanks so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Let me know in the comments what you think of Matt Hardy and Brodie Lee in AEW, brother. And I'll be back in a couple of days talking about WrestleMania. What's happening? I'm gonna let a few more days pass to see what other news comes in, because it's like something different every fucking minute. So thanks for watching. Stay safe, and thank you very much.